Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we are talking about the shorts that are trapped, why Wall Street needs saving, the gamma squeeze, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a look at this. They are all trapped and now hedging their short positions with millions of AMC shares, the very definition of apes winning. So there is this meme, and I think it fits it quite well. When you shorted AMC for quick profits, but ended up trapped for 5 years, unable to exit without massive losses. And you can see the list of all the firms that are involved in there, whether it's directly or indirectly. And what I think needs to also be mentioned is, of course, all the firms that have been shorting AMC, but then went into bankruptcy, went into insolvency, and we've seen plenty of that as well. Credit Suisse, for example. Now, the reason why we're talking about this is, especially in our previous video as well, we talked about how short expected all the apes to sell, but they didn't, because they understand the fact that they don't have the ability to force retail to sell. Whilst they have the ability to shut off buy bottom, to manipulate the price, they can't actually get retail to sell, and it just starts and ends up trapping them with billions of synthetics that they have created. And I think it shows a lot in terms of how the regulation is feeling about it, how the institutions are feeling about it. Because we can even see here, the SEC bailing out Wall Street in the midst of a government shutdown is next level. Exemptive relief for minimum pricing increments and transparency of better priced orders until November of 2026. So plenty of time this year. So what we have seen is how firms have been asking, or especially the regulations, have been allowing exemptions, have been allowing delays of certain rules that should be implemented. We've seen that with margin requirements, we've seen it with the shorts reporting, and now we're seeing it with this. Now, it all leads to really one thing, which is right now, the current state of the market is not in a good position. And we know this because if the firms are able to meet margin requirements, there wouldn't be a need to change it in the first place, but then more importantly, there wouldn't be a need to delay it. The same thing with shorts reporting. If there weren't excessive short selling, if there weren't naked short selling that are manipulating the price of certain stocks, then it wouldn't need to be talked about in the first place. And then more importantly, it wouldn't need to be delayed when it does get to the fact that we are seeing the regulations. And so all of this is just showing how the firms who have been manipulating, the institutions who have been suppressing all of these stocks, who have been naked short selling, have all turned out that their positions are not doing well. They all turned out that they need help from the regulations, and it's why we're seeing the SEC allowing all of these things to go through. One of the biggest gateways that we talked about in terms of why AMC is not seeing a squeeze has been the fact that regulations have not been helping out the retail, but helping out these institutions. And this is why we talked about potentially why this lawsuit could be something that is allowing us to go, do something that will really change this market. We talked about how Genius Group is obviously filing the naked short selling lawsuit, and they are, it's coming out in 3 days. And we talked about how this could potentially pave, a way for all institutions who are facing naked short selling, who are facing the manipulation and suppression within the market. And, this is something that we've talked about that could be extremely pivotal for us. And so this is why we've said in our previous video, so yesterday's videos, for those of you who haven't seen it, why certain institutions are panicking, why we could potentially be seeing the reason for why executives are leaving certain institutions. And so you can see the impact that it's having. Another way we can see the impact that it's having, and why potentially this could be good news, is right now we're seeing this. Brokers block the buy button again for Genius Group. You can see Fidelity, Swap, and Robinhood turns off buy button for Genius Group ahead of company's lawsuit. Now, the reason why I find this interesting is because Genius Group is having a lawsuit that are attacking and fighting back against the naked short selling. And in times like this, and once again, we talked about if this lawsuit was to go towards Genius Group's way, it would mean that these naked shorts would get attacked. These naked shorts would be forced to cover. And so in times like this, we're suddenly seeing the buy button turn off. And so it feels like to me that there is potential that right now it's leading to the fact that this lawsuit is actually going to go towards Genius Group's way. And what we are going to be looking at is how all of these naked short sellers are going to be attacked and potentially some regulations that will be enforced. One of the biggest examples we've always given is in South Korea and their methods and their take towards naked short selling. And we've always said that the US would be much better off if they followed or have similarities towards how the South Korean regulations are taken towards naked short selling. And so potentially this is a big step, because what we've seen is that ever since South Korea took action against naked short selling, the market has seen extreme bullishness. And so what we could be looking at is the same for US as well. Another thing which is about AMC, and it's about understanding why we are looking at an extremely undervalued company, why we've been seeing all of these institutions accumulating, is this. Some people are convinced that the price will halve because the share count is doubling. They ignore the fourth quarter and 2026 are expected to be very positive for EPS. The shares will be used to negotiate and pay off debt. The market share is increasing whilst market cap is stupid low. And so we have to realize, and this is once again clearing up, that there is a big difference between authorization and issuance. And so the authorization is doubling the amount of share count. However, that does not mean that outstanding shares are getting doubled because there are shares that are not yet issued. So that's a very, very big difference. Secondly, it's about talking about how exactly the fact that the market cap is extremely low. We are a company that are showing great fundamentals, great improvements in an industry that is seeing a growth. And now we're deemed as a industry that is recession proof. And so you can imagine with all of this, how well AMC will obviously do, and why we talked about it's extremely undervalued. And in terms about the earnings, you can see for the fact that AMC is projected to be cash flow positive, was criticized for being grossly exaggerated. I attached 2 official attachments from AMC management in the Q3 earnings communication, where they talked about how AMC expects to be free cash flow positive for the 9-month period ending, and when industry revenue rises, which we believe will in 2025 and again throughout 2026, AMC's financial results should rise even more rapidly. So you can understand why we've said that AMC is going to be in a very, very good position. And we've already said this, a lot of institutions, a lot of capital are eyeing up the movie industry as a whole. And when you look into this industry, you obviously want to find the ones that are going to give you the best return, or the ones that are showing that it's undervalued with great potential. In this case, AMC is number 1 for that. And so this is why we've said we are still in a very, very good position. And you have to look at this as well. Everyone talks about AMC's debt, but look around. Theater industry debt for 2025, AMC 3.45 billion, net of stock price 245. We're looking at Cinemark 1.87 with stock price 29.69, IMAX 257 million, 34.84, and Paramount's 14 billion, stock price 15.1. Every major theater chain carries debt. The difference, AMC refinance, extended maturities, and converted some into the equity. So why is the most improved balance sheet trading at the lowest price? And so with everything we've just said, once again, none of this is ever financial advice. So do take our take so make sure you do your own due diligence and research. But like I said, with every data that we've been given, understand where we are at, understand why we're extremely undervalued, and obviously make your own decision from there. Now, a big thing to also mention is this. With GameStop's turnaround complete, the only way short sellers can suppress the price and avoid a gamma squeeze is to continuously add more unreported naked shorts to circulation. The only way to get them out of circulation is to buy them back from the market where they were sold. In the meantime, GameStop may continuously declare non-cash dividend, which costs the company nothing, yet it adds the cost of those short sellers to maintain their short positions. And so we have been seeing how institutions have been trying to prevent certain things from happening for a very long time. We've seen in the past how kohrs would easily allow AMC to and GME to obviously have a gamma squeeze. And we've seen how shorts have been trying to prevent that. We've seen how shorts are trying to prevent the squeeze in general, but by doing this, they are obviously increasing the price of the squeeze when it happens, because the only way for them to avoid this is to just to naked short more, is to rehypothecate and create more synthetics. And ultimately, that's going to increase the floor price. And so, like we've said, there are so many reasons for why I believe that AMC is extremely undervalued, that AMC has extreme potential because of not just the fundamentals, but also everything else that factors in. Now, as always, this is F financial advice, so do take quite a second of salt. Make sure to do your own due diligence and research, and I'll catch you guys next time.